the good figs and something else about the bad things. And what we'll see in this chapter is that God reverses the role in quite an unexpected manner. And it leads us to our premise this morning: my inability to see things as God does. Now, I realize that you say, well, yeah, that's why we have the mind of Christ and the Holy Spirit. Okay, I get that. Apart from divine intervention, I cannot see things the way God does. And even then, I still have a lot of limitations, okay? So I kind of I went back and forth with inability, limitation, and it's like, well, actually, I really can never completely see things as God does. I can gain a lot of insights, okay? So my inability to see things as God does demands that I prayerfully seek his mind in all things. What God allows into our lives, sometimes we misinterpret. And that's what's going to happen in Jeremiah 24. All right, now let's set, number one, the historical background. Let's try to get a little bit of a picture of where we are historically. If you have read through the last several chapters of 2 Kings or the last several chapters of 2 Chronicles, it gets confusing. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I just kind of lost track of who all these people are. It doesn't help when you've got one person named Jehoiakim with an M and another one named Jehoiakin with an N. It also doesn't help when a king takes and changes the guy's name, okay? And so it honestly gets rather confusing. And so either the first several notes in my handout are going to help you, or they're going to continue the confusion. Hopefully the latter does not happen. Josiah is going to be the last godly king in Judah. He is known for a number of different spiritual reforms that he implemented in the nation of Judah. It doesn't seem as though they were much wider spread than Jerusalem area, just simply because as soon as he dies, they're right back in it. And so while there is some notable elements of things, it is not lasting. Kind of question as to how extensive then maybe some of his reform practices and so forth were. But we can't take away from that and say, or somehow disassociate the reality that Josiah was a godly king. Josiah died in battle in 609 BC. He disguised himself. He was advised not to go out to battle. He disguised himself thinking he could pull it off. He got wounded. They tried bringing him back, and that was it. The arrow that got him, that was the end of Josiah. So now, the way that I have your handout indented, you've got Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, and then Zedekiah. Those three. I didn't have time to go through and draw a genealogical chart, okay? Those three guys are sons of Josiah. Jehoiakim is the son of Jehoiakim. So that's how I've got that indented. All right. Jehoahaz comes on the scene in 2 Kings 23. He goes for 3 months. Pharaoh Necho is his name. He's like, yeah, I don't like him. Boom, gone. 3 months, that's it. All right, so we almost could not even put Jehoahaz on our paper. But if you're reading through, you run across him. Jehoiakim comes on afterwards. And I've got some references. That's beyond what I want to study here today. But nonetheless, Jehoiakim comes on, and it appears as though he's going to be Nebuchadnezzar's friend. Taxation, the gold, the silver, all that stuff. And it goes on for a time. And then all of a sudden, he decided, I'm not doing that anymore. The ruler said, Nebuchadnezzar said, yes, actually you are. He came in 605, conquest number one, and forces basically Jehoiakim into this scene. You're going to pay the taxes, and he does. Daniel is taken captive in 605. And along with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, say, well, it's Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Okay, we don't know them that way. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they're part of that initial wave of captivity. Now, he continues on for a while. There's a lot that's going on politically because he raises taxes and all of this, and he's really not all that well liked, and he just dies. There's nothing that's really ever stated about how he dies or anything like that. He dies, and his son, Jehoiakim, begins to reign at 18 years old. This is now down to 597 range. The problem is we have angered Nebuchadnezzar again. Jehoiakim gets onto the throne in a very politically unstable and hostile situation. For 3 months, he ends up attempting to reign, but after 3 months, he surrenders Jerusalem to the second attack from Nebuchadnezzar. So this is taking us down now into a 597. There are 10,000 individuals who are taken captive in that particular one. Ezekiel is one of them. He goes off into captivity. The king appoints a guy named Mattaniah, who actually, he turns his name to Zedekiah. This is Josiah's third son, now to take the throne. And he's going to go from 597 down to 586. 586 is your final conquest of your temple. Okay, so what happens? There are 3 different times when Babylon invades Jerusalem, so to speak. 605, there's not a lot of destruction. There are some captives taken. Daniel is one of them. Then you end up with Jehoiakim coming onto the throne. Oh yeah, we'll do whatever you say. Okay? He doesn't. It ends up creating another wave in 597. More are taken captive, including Ezekiel. But the city still hasn't been destroyed. The third and final one is 586, and that's when Jerusalem ends up being destroyed. So those 3 things take place. Where's Jeremiah in all of this? It is. He's in Jerusalem. There's indications that he was probably born even during the reign of Josiah. After the second wave of captivity, from 597 to 586, there were 10,000 taken captive. The ones that were left behind were even more sinful and even more rebellious. This is why during the reign of Zedekiah, Jeremiah ends up experiencing even greater hardships, because things are not going well at all. And there is a lot of prophecy, or a lot of prophets that are coming along and saying different things. We'll catch up with some of these things later on in Jeremiah 27 and 28. For example, there are some after this second wave of captivity, there are some that are going around saying, oh, it's only going to be for 2 years. Jeremiah 28, Jeremiah says, no, that's not right. Now, it's popular, but it's not accurate. Okay, so now, where are we historically with Jeremiah 24. All right, if I had you turn to 2 Kings 24, I want to pick up verse number 10. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, his servants, his princes, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's vessel, cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained save the poorest sort of the people of the land. Carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land, those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon, and all the men of might, 7,000 craftsmen, smiths 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Where are we on our not so formal chart? Okay, we're right at this 597 time frame. So Jehoiakim is taken captive. Zedekiah is put on the throne. It's 11 more years before the final siege of Jerusalem takes place. 10,000 are taken captive. Ezekiel is one of them. Daniel is already gone. He was taken 8 years earlier. And so now you have this transition all taking place. Zedekiah is put on the throne. And the question is, how do we assess what God has just allowed? 10,000 people